guys, so I am making this video in replacement of a live video that I was supposed to do in one of the Facebook groups that I'm a part of. So if you're here from Bible Journaling and Faith, hi, comment down below and let me know that you watched this video. We do back to the basics videos every single Monday, and we just display a different supply. And so this week I was supposed to do napkins, but Facebook is down. So I decided I would just pre-record a video for you, and then it will just be out here on my YouTube page for anybody to see, but I will also be sharing it in the group once Facebook comes back up. So we are going to be talking about napkins and how you can use these in Bible journaling. And so we will just jump right in. There is so many different beautiful napkins out there that you can use. And so these are just a few that I had on hand already. And so I just grabbed those out, and I will show you how you can use these in your Bible. And I'll be doing that by showing you on just a piece of paper in this notebook. This is just like mixed media paper, I believe. Let's see. Yeah, it's just mixed media paper, but you could definitely, you know, if you wanted to just kind of play around with this, you could use regular notebook paper or like printer paper. That would probably work too. And then I like to use clear gesso, and so that's what I'm going to be using. I have tried Mod Podge before, and it just does not give you a good I don't know, like the texture of it, and then there's like a weird sheen to it. Even though I've used the matte Mod Podge, it just has a weird glossiness to it. It's just not good. I've also heard that like the gel matte medium or matte gel medium, that works really well as well. So whatever you use, though, it does need to be clear. Basically what we're going to be doing is it's kind of like decoupage. So you're going to be putting a layer of this down as like a glue, and then you're going to put your napkin down, and then you put another layer of this on top as like a way to seal it in. So I am going to be journaling after I show you how I do this with the napkins, and I'm going to be journaling with this napkin here since we are in fall and we're getting close to like Thanksgiving time coming up next month and everything. I just thought that this would be a cute one to journal. So we'll be journaling this verse in 1 Thessalonians 5:18. So that's to come. So I'm going to set this napkin off to the side, and then I will show you with these napkins, which this one is just super cute. I absolutely love this napkin. But so I just have a few really cute napkins here, and I will just show you how I do this. So, and just to start, I'm just going to cut one of these squares out. And then I can set this to the side. So basically you're only going to be using the top layer of this napkin where the image is. So you'll need to pull these layers apart. So, and it's really easy to pull those apart. And I just like to double check, because sometimes the napkins are 2-ply, sometimes they're 3-ply. See this one, I could tell because this was still very white on the back. I could tell there was another layer there. You just want that very, very top layer. So now you can see, it looks like you can, see that image really well on the back side and the front side. And so these, if you can find a use for them, great. They're going in the trash for me. So now we have our image. Now you could just put this, you know, right down on your page, but you're gonna have this block of color. It's probably, if your background's white, like if the background of the napkin was white and you're putting it on a white background, that probably wouldn't be an issue. But since that is not the case, I kind of want to cut around the details of this. Now I'm not, and then, and I will show you a couple of different techniques. So you could also rip this. It's a little bit more difficult, and you can do it a little bit easier with like a water technique that I will show you. I've definitely not perfected that by any means, so we will see how it goes. So the way you want to do this, and now if you're going to put any color in your background and you don't want that color to overlap your image, then you definitely would want to put that down in the background first. I will say, if you're going to use Distress Oxides in the background, you have to be really careful when you put your gesso down, because the gesso will kind of smear that a little bit, and the color will come off and will be on your brush. So I am running low on my gesso, so we'll see if we have enough for everything I want to do today. So you're just going to be, you know, fairly generous with your gesso. I mean, you don't need to lay it down real thick, but you need to make sure you have complete coverage. And then you're just going to put this wherever you want it to be. And once you stick it down, you can't really move it around too much without ripping that napkin. So like I have a little bit hanging over the edge here. I'm okay with that because I can just trim that off. And you just kind of want to squeeze out some of the air bubbles if you notice any big bubbles. Now there, I kind of missed a spot, so I'm just gonna get back under there. And then you're just going to put more gesso right over top of it. And although this probably looks shiny right now, once it dries, it's completely matte. And really, if you wanted to, it's a little messy, but if you had any little bubbles or anything still under there, while it's wet, you could go through and push those down. I don't really see any on mine. So I'm gonna go ahead and dry this. So I'm just gonna use my heat gun to dry this. I think there might still be some spots where it's kind of damp underneath, but I wanted mostly to just dry it so you could see that it's not shiny anymore. So this really just kind of makes it one with your page. And so, I mean, you can still feel the edges of it around. It's not like it's completely melted into the page, but it is, like it just kind of becomes one with the page. And so you could write over top of this. You could, if you were going to use paints, you could paint in your background and you could kind of overlap it around the edges if you wanted it to look more like this giraffe was just a part of your background. Let me show you. Let me just get my handy dandy Sharpie out here and then just show you. I think that's mostly dry. Well, it's not completely dry. But that's okay. So you can write right over top of it. And I would suggest using something like this or a paint pen. Let me show you. I do have a paint pen that will probably show up. I have this white paint pen. Looks like maybe I used it on top of something black. So let's see. I'll just write the same thing. I've actually not ever tried it using a paint pen over top of a napkin. So, and because this is white, you cannot hardly see it. That's okay. I don't have a black paint pen. So we're just gonna go with that. I would say not to use, if you have something like a really fine tip pen like this, I think that is probably going to dig into the napkin and kind of rip through it, so you definitely don't want to do that. Okay, let me show you how to rip the napkin. Okay, so I've just grabbed some water and a paintbrush. So I like to use just like a flat brush where it's flat on the end like this. And so you're just going to pick your napkin, and actually for the sake of showing you the difference, I'm going to use the same napkin. So again, I'm just going to cut this square out, and for this, I'm actually going to leave the napkin intact, and then we will pull it apart after, and we'll see how that works. So you're just gonna get your brush wet, and then wherever you want to tear it, you're just gonna kind of go around. All right, we're gonna try this out. So you're just going to rip along, and it's just going to rip. It will rip anywhere in that wet area. So if you have ever tried to rip a napkin before, you'll know that you can't really control where it rips. I have tried doing that before, and it just does not work out. So whereas like if you're ripping a piece of paper, you can really kind of control where it goes, and you just really can't with a napkin. And even with this, it's definitely not an exact, and you'll see up here I got too much water. I had way too much water on my brush, so that's why it ripped into the ear, because that water soaked over to that area. Okay, so now we have, instead of having those harsh edges, we have this these torn edges. So it really just kind of depends on the look that you're going for. So I'm gonna peel that layer off, and then let's see if I can find a dry edge. And we'll see if we can get this without tearing those little edges. Here we go. So that's what we have. So now I can show you what that looks like. Let me put it down. And I will, let's see, we'll go back one page. So we'll do this just the same way that we did the other one. I can tell that my gesso is needing to be replaced. Not only is it getting low, but it's kind of getting gloopy. Like it's got some little chunks. I think really they're the like little pieces that have dried kind of around the edge, and it's just falling down into the jar. So what I like about doing this is it does kind of melt into your page a little bit more. You probably would notice that more so if you had a white napkin that was going on a white background. You would notice that then it would look more like the image on the napkin was more like if you painted it onto the page. So, and I'll do that next. I'll show you one of the white napkins. So now if you had already maybe painted your background a color that was very similar to this mint color, then you would notice this more, that it really just kind of melts into that background. Okay, so now I do want to show you what I mean. Let's see if I have, maybe this one would be good to use, or this one. Let's see. I feel like this one is more like true, like white, so we're gonna go with it. I'm gonna move this out of the way, and then I'm going to tear this just like I did the other one. I don't want to do the entire napkin. And this one I can tell is just 2-ply. I can tell that just by looking, like I can already kind of see the image through here. Sorry, that was my computer in the background. Let me close that out. So that means there's just the 2 layers there. I love this simple blue and white floral. It's really pretty. Okay, it's a little wrinkly. That's okay. So. I love that I can just rip it and it rips right where I put that water. So it's not going to rip beyond that. And I'm gonna rip a little bit more off here. There was a lot more water right here than in some other places. So I'm just ripping that excess off. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and pull that one extra layer off. And this is what we have left. And so I will show you what that looks like on a page. So we're just gonna do the same technique. And right away you can already see how that looks like it is just melting into the page. And I love this because if you are like me and you're not a super artistic person, like you can't draw things super well, this is a great way to add a little something to your page and it looks like you drew it on. And some of the edges are kind of, actually, I don't think that's an edge. I think that is a piece of dried gesso. Clearly I need to replace my gesso. That's what that is too. So it is a little messy if you get in there and use your fingers to kind of smooth out the edges, but that's okay. I don't mind getting messy. Okay, so I will go ahead and dry this. So you can see how you can't really see the napkin in this at all. It just really melts into the background since the background was already white on that. So that is a really cool way to add some art to your page if you're not artistic or if you just want to do it anyways. So I'm going to show you one more way that you can add some interest to your page. I have some highs written on here. I was testing out some colors and pens, but I'm gonna use this napkin and I am gonna cut it. And this is a way that you could use just pieces of a napkin, and so you're not necessarily using the whole thing. And you could do this, I'm using this one because it's got, I love the honeycombs on here, but you could do this with a napkin that has a lot of different elements, like this one where you could cut out individual cactuses. Let's see if I have another one. I don't really have another one to show you, but So with this one, I'm gonna cut before I pull this apart. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna cut out some of these honeycombs, and I'm gonna decide where I want to cut. And you'll see what I'm doing after I've done a little bit of this. Okay, I went ahead and fast forwarded all the way to this point because it was painfully slow getting those pulled apart. So maybe pulling them apart before cutting them would probably be ideal. So for this, the technique I'm going to show you, it's not a technique. It's just using pieces of a napkin instead of the whole thing. So if you were going to do, like, you know what, I'm just going to cut out this where it says be inspired. And actually I'm just going to cut it so that really just the white is showing. So finding napkins that have wording on them is also a great way to get some words on your page if you're not great at hand lettering or something. So if I was going to do a page and I wanted to incorporate this little phrase, these napkins are really well put together, I guess. There we go. So you could maybe put this kind of in the middle of your page. And again, you can see how that just kind of melts into the page. And then you can just use these napkin pieces as like elements around your page. So maybe if you didn't want to use the whole napkin and you just liked these little pieces, then you can just kind of put them around your page like this. And really, the sky is the limit with using the napkins like this. It really is just dependent upon what kind of napkins you have. So there's so many stores that sell all kinds of napkins. And so I would definitely encourage you to go and find some napkins, or maybe you have some napkins left over from a party or something. There are just so many fun ways to use this. So I am going to grab my Bible and we will go ahead and journal using a napkin. All right, guys. So I'm going to use this napkin and I'm going to do 1 Thessalonians 5:18, which is what is on the napkin here, which says, "Give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus." So, very simple verse. I think it's a good reminder for us to give thanks in all things. I think it's really easy to forget that we're supposed to give thanks, not just when things are going good, but in all things. So if you woke up this morning, you have something to be thankful for because you were blessed with another day on this earth. So I am going to kind of do like a fall themed page, I think. So I love doing abstract pages. So I'm gonna kind of play into that and use some kind of fall colors. So I'm gonna grab some orange. Let's grab some green. It says spring green, but we're gonna use it for fall. Let's see. Actually, you know what? Maybe we'll use both of those. Let's see what other colors I can pull out. I do have some brown that I might throw in. I actually might add a little bit of brown to this orange just to darken it up a little bit. Let's see. I don't know if I want to use this, but I have a lighter orange. And then, let's see. I have this King's Gold color. And you know what? I think I'm going to go with this orange instead. It's called Harvest Orange. It's not quite as bright. So, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and put that one away. I think we'll go with these colors. Actually, I'm going to keep that light orange color out. We'll see. We'll see where this goes. So, let me grab my paper towels. So I'm going to do, this has been kind of one of my favorite techniques here lately. And it's just a super easy way to put some color down on your page. First, I need to washi off my verse so that we don't cover it with paint or a napkin. And then I do need to figure out where I'm going to, you know what? That was a really small verse. I don't need to tape off that much. So it kind of starts in the middle of the page, but I'm gonna tape off this whole little area. And then I think the next thing that I need to do before I put any color down on my page is figure out where my napkin is gonna sit. So I go ahead and cut one of these out. And then I'm not going to tear this one. I'm just going to cut around these. And I'm thinking I will probably, I'll probably put my paint down first, and then I will put this napkin on top of the paint, and then I might come back in with the paint and kind of layer it over this a little bit. We'll just see how it looks. Okay, so we're gonna figure out, let's see, so if I put it there, that's covering up part of the verse. I think I am gonna maybe put it here, and then it's gonna hang off a little bit, and then I can just trim those edges. Because if I do that down here, that's going to cut into the words. That's going to take too much off. Yeah, I think, yeah, I'm going to put it right there. So, I'm going to come around like this. My napkin apart. Sometimes it's really difficult to pull these things apart. I feel like it's trying, like, you know, sometimes when you're trying to peel a sticker off of its backing, it's kind of like that. And we're gonna put it right about there. I think this is going to be almost the last project I can do with this gesso. Gives me an excuse to go to the craft store, right? No, probably I need to just order it online so I don't get in trouble with spending more money than I should. Get in trouble with myself, that is. Okay, there we go. So I think I'm done with my gesso now, so I'm going to put that brush in the water so that that doesn't dry on there. And then I'm going to dry this really quick. Y'all, I was going to put my color down before my napkin. I got a little carried away. That's okay. We'll make do. Okay. I did fast forward that so that you didn't have to watch me dry that all the way. So I'm gonna start with orange. So with this, you just take a little piece of paper towel and you're just gonna squirt a little on here, and then you're just going to rub it where you want it. And I am kind of a messy Bible journaler, so I don't really worry too much about where my paint is going. I don't mind if I get it on my other pages. I'm sorry if that drives some of y'all crazy. So I'm just gonna kind of layer this over top of the napkin a little bit. And I think that that's okay. I do, however, I don't like getting paint on my bows. That does pain me a little bit if I do that. Okay. And then I'm gonna go in, and this dries pretty quick when you're doing it pretty thin. Like this down here is pretty much dry. So I'm just gonna go back over it, and looks like I may do about 3 coats on each of these spots just so that they are pretty opaque. And then I'm going to quickly dry these. First layer dries a little quicker than the rest. And I do like to switch spots on my napkin just so that the little paper particles don't get on there. Because, you know, after the paper towel gets so wet, it'll start kind of shedding. And I don't know if you can really see it on the camera or not. Over here is where there's gesso underneath this paint. And you can kind of see that texture a little bit, but I'm okay with that. Okay, so we're good with that color. Next, I'm going to come in with some green, and I'm just going to try to shake some of it down into the lid, and then I will pick it directly up out of the lid. there's not really any real rhyme or reason to how I'm doing this. I am for now just working in like groups of 3. So I have 3 orange, I have 3 green, and that's just the way I like to do it. I feel like this is not only a fun way to add a background, but it also goes pretty quick. It's not like a super precise thing. So you can kind of see where there's gesso underneath. It just is like a lighter color, and that's okay. I would have preferred to put the color down and then put the napkin on top of it, but mistakes happen and you just gotta kind of roll with it. So next I'm going to use this yellow color, and it's just kind of a little bit darker yellow. It's called King's Gold. Does not, like, it's not gold at all. Like, I feel like this is definitely not a gold color, but I feel like it's a very fallish yellow because it's just a little bit darker. Ooh, that was a lot. I don't need that much. Okay, so like I have a big glob right there, so I'm just gonna push it up. And let's see, I'm gonna add a little bit over here. I'm gonna connect it with that one. And then I think I'm gonna put just a few little spots of brown. Okay, so I'm gonna dry this. And you know what? I'm not actually going to put the brown on there. I'm going to put a dark red. I have this color called Spiced Berry, and I think that that is going to look better. I think the brown is just going to be too dark and kind of blah looking. And this is more of like a, I guess it's kind of like a brownish red. Burgundy, that's what we're gonna call it. It's more of a burgundy, because that sounds better than brown red. And it's a very, it's more of a sheer color. Okay, I gotta get another piece of paper towel. I got a little carried away and put way too much right there, so I had to kind of wipe some of it off. Hopefully this doesn't look like too much of a hot mess. Come on. And then I'm going to put a little bit up here in the corner. There's a small spot up here. So I guarantee this would probably have looked better if I had put the color down first, but that's okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and peel this off. And then let's see, typically I do like to do some hand lettering, and so I think I'm gonna do that. Let me just cut the excess off of these. There we go. And so I'm gonna get out, this is a Pigma graphic pen in the size 1. And then this is just my little Sharpie pen. I always forget exactly what this is called. I want to say it's called an S pen, but I don't think that's right. But it doesn't bleed through like you would expect a Sharpie to do. Okay, and so I think I'm just going to put give thanks here. So let's do... And then I think I'm gonna add maybe some splatters and maybe some art marks to this, since I was a little disappointed that I put this down too soon, and so I feel like the page just needs some help. Just does not look like I had planned. So I'm going to get this paintbrush. I'm just going to grab a little bit of this black and mix it with a little bit of water. And then do some kind of controlled splatters. I like doing splatters like this because I feel like, well, that was completely uncontrolled. I feel like you can control them a little bit more where they go. That one just totally went over my verse though, so I'm really gonna do some of these around the edge of this napkin. I'm gonna just dry this real quick. And I'm gonna add some art marks. And I'm gonna do that using a paint card, and I'm just going to take a little paint on a palette knife and put it right on the edge, and then just going to and I think I might do that with some white also. And this just gives a little, it just gives your page a little something extra. I like doing all sorts of art marks on my pages. And then in this instance where I felt like the page just wasn't really coming together like I had hoped, I think this just gives it a little something. Just had a thought. I'm going to add a little bit more lettering. Because I feel like this area is kind of blank, and so I'm just going to add the words "in all things." So in all things, give thanks. I think that that looks okay. So that is my page. I think maybe it turned out okay. It didn't turn out as good as I had hoped, but that's okay. Mistakes happen and you just have to roll with it, and that's okay. So I hope you guys really enjoyed learning about how to use a napkin in your Bible journaling. You could also use this technique if you have an art journal or something like that, where you can just put it in there and journal around it. And so hopefully you learned a little something, and yeah, I will see you guys on my next video. Bye.